Year two in the Beck kill offense is going to be a special one for sure. And honestly, Diego Pavia is going to feast.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. On today's episode, we're going to examine Vanderbilt's offense and what it'll look like in year two under Tim Beck and Jerry Kill. And I know for one, Diego Pavia is going to have a monster year in both run and pass. This offensive line, well, it feeds perfectly into the identity of this offense, has way better depth too. And honestly, they're looking for playmakers. And is Bryson Coleman going to be a hidden gem? Yeah, you might. And who can emerge as a threat in the passing game? Then on the defensive side of the ball, early enrollee George Okorie hits the portal. What? I hope for the best, but I mean, this seems like he's not getting good advice and could be a mistake and could end up being somebody who's constantly chasing something. I don't know. But lastly, it looks as if I can answer the question I ended last week with. Vandy took down the Dogs in game one. Can they keep this up? That's what I asked last week on my last episode. I'd say they did. And dare I say the Vandy boys could be elite. Well, speaking of elite, thanks for making Speaking of elite, you're elite for watching, and thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. I got to work on that joke timing there. I had a perfect opportunity, swung and missed a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. Let's look at this offense because this is something that's very exciting for this team. I think coming into year two, you have some things figured out. The gist of it is that because you have a lot of things figured out, I think you can be a little more explosive. And I think there's a little more depth to this offense that we did not see last year because it was year one, because you were trying to figure out just what you had on the offensive line, just what you had at wide receiver, what you had at running back, which none of it was a ton because you were still replacing a ton of guys that you lost from the portal coming off of 2023. So it was a really good to go 7-6 with a bowl win against Georgia Tech with that amount of stuff was phenomenal. You established a baseline. You established kind of, okay, this is what we can be. Now that we continue to get more people in, it's only going to get better. And guess what? Tim Beck and Jerry Kill aren't running around chasing a bag. They are here to stay. I feel like they're comfortable, and I feel like this Vandy offense will feast as a result. So why do I think that? Why is that? There's a lot of reasons, but we're going to break all of those down here, and we're going to continue to break all those down. So number one, the identity will continue to be ball control. You're going to have a dynamic run game mixed with quick pass. All right, I think that's going to be the centerpiece of this offense. I honestly don't think you're going to see as much option as you did. I think they wanted to do that, and they had marginal success with it, but I think it was something that kind of fizzled out. And I would be surprised if you saw as much option run as you did last year. I think they're going to find that they're going to have more success with quarterback design run, some RPO stuff as your option, and like the shovel pass stuff that they did that they were really good at. Like, I think that's going to be the extent of their option. I don't know that they're going to have a lot of like straight triple option like they did last year. I don't know if that's effective enough in this league. So I think they're going to find ways to get that in other avenues. So it's going to be ball controlled nonetheless. They want to shorten the game. They want to control the ball, control the clock. That worked against Alabama. Did you see how panicked that offense was because they weren't possessing it as much? And Vandy's offense did a phenomenal job of taking it away from them and holding it. They did the same to Auburn, same to Kentucky. All 7 of their wins, they had elite ball control. And in their 6 losses, Well, they didn't. They were turning it up. They had the fewest turnovers, but they were getting penalties was the biggest thing, and not allowing themselves to extend drives like they wanted to. They weren't playing as clean in those 6 losses, and it was the penalties that killed them. So the quick pass, I think, is going to come a lot off of RPO. It's going to have to be quick game because you don't have a lot of guys that can stretch the field vertically. You'll have some shot opportunities, but I think the bulk of your offense is going to be quick sprint out stuff and get the ball out of the hands quick, attack space, and kind of just chew up the clock that way and chew up yards that way. Which takes me to Diego Pavia. He's going to provide an elite level of playmaking ability, especially in quarterback design run. He's also an escape artist. Call him Houdini. I call those guys Houdini. Those abilities, those skills that he has are absolutely incredible. I mean, just the ability to make guys miss in space, the ability to be completely hemmed up and somehow gain 8 yards. I've never, I don't say never, but I've rarely seen things like that. I mean, that kind of playmaking ability is what really kind of fires you up. There were some instances, like again in the Alabama game, I think there was two pivotal drives that I think if Vandy punts, Alabama was starting to get momentum, and if Vandy ends up punting on those drives, and I think they resulted in field goals if I remember correctly. That game was so crazy. I don't remember all of the stuff. I was also trying to figure out if I was going to escape a hurricane, which I later did. But when they had Vandy 3rd and 8, and they blitzed off the edge, and they had him just completely dead to rights, and they had 2 guys around him, and he was done. Like, it was going to be 4th and a mile. Vandy was going to have to punt, and I think Alabama was starting to gain a little bit of momentum. He somehow shakes both of those guys, cuts through the line of scrimmage, and gets 8.5 yards, picks up the first down, and I'm pretty sure Vandy picked up 3 points on that series, which was absolutely incredible. And that's the kind of playmaking ability you're going to get from Diego Pavia. He's a leader. He elevates everybody around him. And the quarterback design run, you have Blaise Berlowitz as a backup quarterback who is just as capable of running this thing as Diego Pavia. So guess what you're going to see? You're going to see even less conservative game planning and less conservative play from Diego Pavia. I think they were trying to put the bubble wrap on him a little bit last year down the stretch because he was taking some hits. But it's going to be a different Diego Pavia, that is for sure. And the offensive line is a big reason for that. This offensive line this year is very strong. Not saying last year's wasn't. I'm just saying this year's group is they improved. All right, they added some personnel. They've got some guys coming back that I think are going to be better, and they're more built for this scheme. They're more built for this identity. They will be elite in the run game, which is kind of convenient because that's what Vandy wants to do. And especially their strong sides can be out. Bryson Henderson might be one of the best run blockers in the league. Jordan White at center is going to be outstanding. I think Chase Mitchell being able to bump down to guard. He played a little bit out of position last year, but I think he's better as a natural guard. I think him coming down will be able to do some things. Having an athletic center, going back to Jordan White, is going to be elite, and a guy that I think has a better feel for the position. And no offense to the guy we had there last year, but I think his knowledge, I think whatever leadership he has within this offensive line, I think is going to be better. And then your quick side, you still got some decisions to make at the quick guard, I believe, which to me, everything's pointing to this being Sterling Porsche, unless they're able to get Joe Cotton. And then I think in that case, Joe Cotton moves in at tackle. And then I think you can bump Isaiah Glass down to the quick guard, and you can you can have Sterling Porsche kind of rotate in, or Sterling Porsche may fit into that strong. There's a lot of possibilities here, which is a good problem to have. I don't know, Coach K and Coach Nady are excited about having that problem, And I think Vandy fans watching this offense will also be excited. And as they search for a passing game, man, they want to search for a playmaker to emerge. As they do that, like, the more I think about it, like, the more I don't think they need that elite dude with what they want to do. I don't know that they need that game breaker. And 12 personnel, that could be an answer. Like Bryson Coleman in spring, they didn't even play Eli Stowers in the spring. He's recovering from injury, and Eli Stowers plays elite level tight end. You get Bryson Coleman in the mix, and then you can even go 13 personnel with Cole Spence on the line and have Stowers out and flexed out and have, Coleman moving around. I mean, you have 3 really big targets there and 2 of them extremely athletic. So 12, 13 personnel may be a thing as they look for wide receivers. But this is, like I said, this is going to be a very exciting offense. And here's the thing also that you have to consider. When you look at this scheme, when you look at teams that don't go with the mold, don't go with the flow, they're not cookie cutter, offenses. They're very unique styles of offense, which is not wrong. I think a lot of people say, oh, you're unique, you're wrong. That's not true at all. But I think when you see that, you have to ask the question, how is recruiting affected by that? And to me, when you look at elite wide receivers, with Vanderbilt, I think there's a stigma of Vanderbilt being Vanderbilt. That should change really, really soon. But also, I think with this type of offense, you're never going to attract a huge superstar name wide receiver unless you because this offense is adaptable, unless you get some live arm guy. Like if Jared Curtis all of a sudden decides, you know what, I don't want to go to Georgia, I don't want to go to Oregon. It's all about the Commodores, right? Let's say hypothetically that happens. Jared, if you're listening, you're more than welcome to do that. But you get a live arm 5-star guy, okay, he's going to attract some top level talent. But with what they've got, and the style of offense they want to play, I don't know that wide receivers see themselves as massive pieces, which I think is also a mistake. Like you could get an elite guy in here and really, really pop off. Like, for example, now I'm not saying these two offenses are exactly alike because they're not. But when Georgia Tech had Demaryius Thomas, because Georgia Tech was very unique under Paul Johnson, they were flex bone spread option. Right? They were the epitome of like a service academy offense. But they had an elite game-breaking receiver in Demaryius Thomas. That was the best year. They went to the Orange Bowl that year, I believe. And that was the best year of offense they ever had, I think. I had to look back statistically, but I'm pretty sure they had the trio of Josh Nesbitt, Jonathan Dwyer, and Demaryius Thomas. Demaryius Thomas, all he did was catch bombs, and he feasted, and was a first-round pick in the NFL for a while. And then, he tragically passed away, unfortunately. But that dude was elite, and he was feasting. And I think as an elite receiver, you could have a chance to come in Vandy's offense, and it's not triple option. It's not run 95% of the time. You're going to have a chance to do some things, but I think as of right now, these receivers are trying to figure out, they're trying to kind of feel it out almost and just kind of see. So I think that, from a recruiting standpoint, either portal or high school, I think some guys are just kind of looking at it like, okay, well, I see, Diego Pavia, like it doesn't make any sense really, but I think that's kind of what's happening because they're just not sure, because they just know that Diego Pavia is a playmaker, and they don't know how much he's going to throw the ball vertically down the field. They know he's going to get the ball out quick or he's going to scramble, and they're going to run a lot, and they're going to be in 12 personnel a lot. They're going to look at Eli Stowers a lot, and maybe that turns off some of these top wide receiving recruits. I think Vandy's a perfect place to come if you're one of those guys that flies just under the radar, because if you're an elite guy, you're probably getting a big NIL deal from Ohio State or Oregon anyway. or Alabama, because Alabama has, 3 elite guys now. But, I think you have to look at it like that and just say, all right, well, we're going to have to it's going to be 12 personnel. It's going to be run game. It's going to be, how can we role play with a bunch of role players out there at wide receiver? Like, how can we make this happen with these guys that are good? They're not elite. Not, they're just good, solid, kind of great. They're not guys that you would bet money on to catch 1 million touchdowns, and they're not going to go first round. They're not going to go first 2 days of an NFL draft, if at all. But they can be solid players. They can be productive players, and they can help this offense do what it wants to do and control the clock, control the ball, and control the field. So that's kind of my gist of the wide receivers. I know I said they'd be explosive. I still kind of believe they can be. I don't know if they will be. I'd love to talk to Juwan about that. We'll have him on at some point when I'm done, when I go back into coaching retirement. So that'll be a lot of fun. But I'm excited. I'm excited about this offense. I really am. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be exciting enough to attract some top recruits. Like, I think you're starting to catch the eye of some running backs, and you should see the running back as long as this crew is here. I think you'll see the running back recruiting elevate. I think getting Jack Elliott is a good move. I think he fits extremely well. And this offense, like I said, is going to pop in year 2, and I think people aren't ready for that. But it's going to pop for sure. And I think I'm very excited about it. I think Jerry Kill and Tim Beck are doing a phenomenal job building this thing. And I think that Diego Pavia, when you look at the end of the season stats and when you look at the rankings of quarterbacks, I don't know if it'll equate to anything in the NFL, but I think when you compare SEC quarterbacks, you're going to look at Diego Pavia and go, man, this guy had a hell of a season. And I don't know that it'll be that quiet of a season. So, but George Okorie going to the portal, is he getting bad advice? I don't know. We'll briefly talk it out next. What else we'll talk it out is how you can get supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Yo, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Every day. That's a word that I really enjoy. I really enjoy the everydayers. I really appreciate the everydayers. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for making this a enjoyable experience for me. So, George Okorie. I don't know that this was an enjoyable experience for him. I don't know. He's entering the transfer portal. Most of the time, I can say that I get it. But this one I don't. This one I really don't understand. Maybe somebody can help me. Maybe there's something wrong here. And something happened where he's just not satisfied at Vanderbilt anymore. Probably going to be buried on the depth chart, but I mean, the kid hasn't really played tackle football ever. He came over from Nigeria, didn't really play at a high school, just trained, and comes in completely raw, makes some noise, makes some impressions, was probably going to end up with the depth of that position and injuries that those guys take. He was probably going to end up getting some playing time. But he's in the portal now. I don't really understand it. I really don't. I think this guy's getting bad advice because somebody's telling him something. Somebody's gassing him up, thinking he's a lot better than he actually is. And he's going to be a hell of a player. He really is. He's going to be a hell of a player. That dude's got some things to learn. He's 6'2", 222 pounds. He's got great speed, but he's not very big. And yes, he was coming into a packed position group at Vanderbilt with the edge players. But I don't understand. And this defense is, scheme wise was going to be good. It was going to be great for pass rushers. And he was going to develop behind Miles Capers and Keanu Code and, Linus Sunk or, Nick Rinaldi, whoever. He was going to develop behind those guys and maybe even pass one of them. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. He was turning some heads though, for sure. I mean, he was showing elite speed during the spring. So I just begs the question, who's in his ear? What are they promising him? Where, I'm going to follow this one. I mentioned this one. Normally departing guys don't really get any sort of pub because I don't want to give them that satisfaction really because they're leaving. So they don't. But I want to see where this one ends up. I want to see where he ends up. I want to see where Demarion Thomas ends up. Those two I don't think really make much sense. These two seem like a money grab. And I'm almost worried that George Okorie is going to play at a different place for the next 4 years. And he's going to be at that, I'm afraid he's going to be he's going to maybe be at 6 schools in 4 years because he's going to be a spring hopper too. He's going to come in the winter, compete in spring. He's never going to get any footing that way. And for him to leave so soon, it's kind of the forecast. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he does, wherever he lands, he sticks. He does extremely well. I hope he does. I really do. Nothing against him. I really don't fault him necessarily. I just don't. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good idea. I disagree. I respect him. Obviously, I respect the process. I respect the portal and for what it is. But some guys going in the portal when they go in the portal, I just don't agree with that decision. And I don't agree with it here. It just doesn't make sense. I think he would have been a perfect fit in this defense. I think he was going to get some playing time this year. I'd be curious to see where he ends up. And if this is a money grab, I don't know. I hope it's not. I hope he gets his opportunity. I really do. I really do. But I don't know. I can't. I don't agree with it. I really don't. So that's neither here nor there. Good luck. Best of luck. Hope you find somewhere that makes you happy. But speaking of happy, I was happy to watch Vandy baseball. And that's exciting. And they're maybe finding some swagger. And we're going to talk about that next. Hang on. What time is it? Game time. Ooh. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. So Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. So here's why I use Game Time. I love it, man. It's the last-minute deals for me. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all of that. Right. And the all-in pricing is great too. No surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. And that's peace of mind. That's the definition of it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, wrapping up the show here, Locked On Vandy. If you're still around, big thank you to the loyal third segment listeners. If you are an everydayer, a first timer, if you are a start at 000 and go with me all the way to the end, whatever you are, if you're an opposing fan coming in here, which I don't have any opposing fan stuff today, but if you're an opposing fan that stuck around, I appreciate you as well. Whoever you are, at Locked On Vandy is the place to go on social media. So, Georgia Bulldogs, the number one offensive team in the country, got swept. The Bulldogs are reeling. The Vandy boys are surging. Vandy boys, 10 out of the last 12 games they've won. And guess what? They out-homered the home run leaders. The bats, man, they came alive. The pitching was elite. Holy cow, the series was outstanding. You had pitching duels all across the board, runs scored, all of that good stuff. You had Brody Johnson go off this series as well. So very, very exciting stuff for the Vandy boys. Here are my takeaways, man, and this is what makes this team so promising. This is why you should never give up on a team, because in baseball you can kind of figure it out. That's what they did. Pitching was elite, and they were elite versus the league's number one offense too. Thompson, Bowker, and Fennell were the three starters. All three were elite, especially Thompson, who went 8+ 1 hit, or I think 5 hits, 1 run in 8+ innings to lock down the Bulldogs in game one. Bowker held on to an offense, took care of him, and then Connor Fennell was throwing fire as well on Saturday as they beat Georgia 5-2. They out-homered the home run leader 6-5 as a team. Brody Johnson may be a fast rising star. When I say maybe, I mean, well, he kind of actually is. And he is, man, I think he had 3 home runs, moonshots. I mean, this kid is incredible, man. Coming out of high school, just kind of, he's become a game changer in this recently. He's become that. Also, Braden Holcomb is tearing the cover off the ball as well. Colin Barzey's having a good go at it. I mean, this team is really starting to come alive with their bats, and that's the most exciting part about it, is that they've always had the elite pitching, but now the bats are surging a little bit, and they've found some swagger in the meantime. They're winners of 10 of the last 12, like I said, and this team is riding high. They are floating on cloud nine, whatever idiom you want to use. They are hitting the ball. They are hitting the baseball. They are seeing it well. It's like a beach ball coming up there, and they are playing complete complementary baseball because pitching is complementing hitting. When the bats aren't alive, the pitching is able to pick it up, and when the pitching isn't quite as live, quite as dominant, the bats have been able to pick it up lately. They haven't always done that, but lately they've been able to. Ever since they had the I guess the fight, I don't know what you call it, the near bench clearing brawl. Jacob Humphreys get ejected that game, whatever you want to call that. Since that happened, they've been on an absolute tear, and it's been great. It's been great to watch. It's been fun to watch this team because you're seeing them become an elite team right before your eyes. You're seeing them do what elite teams do. They're doing elite things. And when you do elite things, if you do them a couple of times, it's a fluke. If you do them consistently, that's a trend. That means you're probably, guess what? Elite. So this team, like I said, this team is poised to make a run, and it's going to be more exciting as they go. The games only get tougher. I mean, it's a gauntlet. This league is a gauntlet. We know that. There's no secret to that. So, but speaking of secrets, well, got to go. So this was fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next time on the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Anchor down. Behave yourselves. Peace.